Hey there, guys. So for video number, I should say day 2 of the French Revolution video, you got to see all that great stuff about how Marie Antoinette and Louis the 16th kind of made a bad image for themselves in terms of their like ability to have a child, right? Marie Antoinette has this nickname, Madame Deficit, right? Because she spends so much money, even though the people of France are starving and all this terrible stuff. Basically, they're typical rich nobles that just don't, not that they don't care about their people, they don't even have a sense of their people. They have no idea how their people are like suffering and such. Right. So in this next installment of the French Revolution video, there are some things I want you to pay attention to as things unfold. And some of these guys were probably mentioned in the film that you saw yesterday. I just want to make sure we all are on the same page on who I want you to pay attention to. So once again, you're going to see the radical phase of the French Revolution. And there's going to be people like, let me just that. People like Maximilien Robespierre. Okay, he's a guy you got to know because Robespierre is kind of becomes the leader of the real radical elements of the French Revolution. His group is going to be known as the Jacobins, all right, or Jacobins. Okay, they're the radical ones. They're the ones that are, kind of figuring out the screen here, but they're the ones that are left of left. Okay, they want all the change, right? These are the guys that are ultimately, they're the ones that call for the king's death, right? You want to pay attention to these guys, okay? And it's not just Robespierre. You learn about this guy named, Marat, who starts this newspaper called L'Ami des Peuples, or the People's Friend, that's calling for everybody's heads to be chopped off. Again, you probably saw some of this in the video the other day, but just in case, I'm not perfectly aligned with what you guys got to see so far. And he is also going to be part of these Jacobins. All right, they're the real radicals. All right. Meanwhile, there are also the more moderate group in the French Revolution that are going to be called, let's see if I spell it right, the Girondins, all right? And the Girondins are like they're the moderates, like I said. And they're the ones that, yeah, they want to change the system too. They're going to disagree over whether or not the king should die. Over some of the extreme measures that are being taken in order to complete this revolution, right? And so the Girondins, don't get me wrong, they want the king gone, they want the overall the system, just like the Jacobins do, but they're not as extreme. They're still, from a revolutionary perspective, they're moderates, even though they're really more liberals, is really what they are. Maybe I can do like this for you. And it gives you a sense of it. Okay. Now, in addition to these elements, you'll see in this installment, if you didn't get there already, the use of the guillotine, which was initially thought of as a way to put people to death, like equally, right? Like everybody gets killed the same way. It's a very revolutionary thing. We're going to chop everybody's head off using the same device. Doesn't matter if you're noble or not. If you're an enemy of the revolution, we're going to kill you. And hopefully what you guys are going to realize when you watch this next phase is that the revolution is becoming radical to the extent that there's something called the Reign of Terror. Okay. And the Reign of Terror is a phrase used to describe when things go bananas in the French Revolution, where everybody suspects everybody. All these revolutionaries, they're accomplishing their goals. They're getting rid of the nobility. They're getting rid of the priests, right? Like they're changing the system of feudalism in France, notably the estate system, right? They're tearing it down. They're writing a new constitution. But the problem is, they're also being invaded, right? The French start this war. They declare this war with all of Europe. And now they find themselves fighting all of Europe, correct? They're fighting the British. They're fighting the Prussians. They're fighting all these groups that don't want to see this revolution expand beyond the borders of France, okay? And so in order to kind of keep everybody in line in the middle of this crisis situation, the Jacobins, the real radicals of the revolution, institute what is known as the Reign of Terror. And this Reign of Terror is basically to lock up and dispose of anybody that is an enemy to the revolution, anybody that's a suspect, right? And you'll see in this video, the second part of the video, and if you have to finish it up on day 3, that, you know, you really don't have to do much to be declared as an enemy of the revolution. You pretty much just have to like say something like, man, I really think things are getting a little carried away right now. Like something like that could get you executed. You know, you're given like a 15-minute trial. The revolutionaries are in charge. They decide guilty, send them to the guillotine, and then that's it. And, you know, the people during this Reign of Terror and the following Great Terror, you know, people are going to be disposed of so quickly. I think my class and I one year did the estimates, and it was like, you know, somebody's going to be executed in Paris. In the worst part of this, in the summer of like 1793, somebody's going to be executed every 15 minutes. Like guillotines are going to be set up all throughout Paris and other major cities because they're killing so many people. And of course, the situation becomes so unstable in France that, you know, people are scared and society starts to fall apart. You know, you're going to get a revolution within the revolution, a civil war, where people in France who don't live in Paris, for example, are going to be like, we're tired of this. We want it to end. Okay. And this is all going on while France is trying to fight a foreign war against multiple opponents. Okay. And that's what you're going to see. And the guys who start this whole thing, okay, the Reign of Terror, which is going to be led by a group known as the Committee of Public Safety. Okay. And the one, of course, that, you know, leads that is Maximilien Robespierre. Okay. And these guys are going to be so extreme in getting rid of what they think are the enemies of the revolution that they're eventually going to turn on each other, right? They're not only going to kill the nobles and the king and the queen and all that, but they're going to turn on each other. And ultimately, as you will see, Robespierre becomes a victim of the process that he himself started. Okay. So that's what you're going to see in installment 2 and 3. You probably have to finish it up on a third day. I don't know. It's just going to kind of depend on how quickly everybody gets set up, but you're going to, you know, get the picture very quickly that this thing runs out of control. And ultimately it finally ends with the death of key members of the radical Jacobin party, which is Robespierre himself and some of his friends. Okay. And then some sense of normalcy will eventually come to France, and the revolution will move on to its next phase. Okay, guys. So for that, you're going to see a different video of me.